Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so sorry. Technological issues are just not my thing. I don't always know what to do. So, welcome back. We were chatting about how social media can kind of allow women to reconnect with people and relate maybe with others. Mandy, I'm handing it over to you.
Yes, we were just talking about how as moms, like we all think we're isolated in these little bubbles. And until we start really telling our stories, we don't know that everyone else feels the same. Like I'm not that special, but really in and of itself, that is special. Like there are other women that need to hear my story and my journey because it relates to theirs. And maybe I'm a step ahead of them, maybe I'm a step behind them, but it helps to sort of further all of us.
Right. Well, and I keep hearing about I did a live with a friend where we talked about competition, and the competition isn't between me and you or me and anybody else. It's like against our best selves, like just being our best selves. And so I often think like, well, I'm not special. I haven't experienced some huge loss. I haven't experienced some big life change. But at the same time, like I've had 4 kids. One was an emergency C-section, which that was kind of an interesting situation for me. I have a brother who battles addiction. I have a mom who deals with chronic pain and has had many back surgeries. In fact, she might be watching right now. She just commented on our previous video. So like those life experiences shape us and help us become who we are. And in that process, it is a story. It is our own personal journey.
Absolutely. And when I've been working with women, especially in one-on-one coaching, what I find is the same thing that I was doing. We're so busy in the middle of it, in the midst of our stories, that we're just running and running and running. We don't realize what we've gone through or that it's all that extraordinary or exceptional. And when we slow down to look at it, or one of the activities I use with a lot of coaching clients is to write out like your life story, bullet point style. When you can really sit back and look at it, it is so validating to sit back and say, wow, I really have had some extraordinary experiences in my life. And then what can you do with that in terms of where you go after motherhood? Is there something you can do that has to do with where you came from? That I think is an interesting place to be.
Well, and I often think too, how can that help me help others? Right?
Yeah, totally.
I feel like, and I'm not good at this, but I kept thinking once I'm out of that littles phase, I'll help other moms who are in the littles phase. And, life is busy and things happen and take place and kind of take over. And so I have not done that as well as I had always hoped. But I think we often can say, okay, this is what this taught me. So how can I help others in their time, in their storm?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the way society is right now, and even with in the motivational speaker realm, like there are plenty of speakers who are like, no, you got to go big and you got to go hard and you got to be fast and we, hustle, hustle, hustle. And I do think it's important to take a moment and say that there's a time and a place for that. And not everyone is at that time and place yet. And that's okay. Like when you're in the trenches of young motherhood, girlfriend, like tunnel vision. Like it's okay that you forget everything. It's totally fine. But there is a space where we come into where it's you can really start digging into who you really are at your core. And I think when you do that and you can take care of your own needs, you show up better as a wife, a partner, a friend, even as a mom for sure. Like we don't take any time to take care of ourselves, and then we are empty vessels and there's nowhere to go from that except for to be running on fumes.
Right, which that isn't our best self. And you've been in the littles, but you've also been in the teenage. You even have, do you have 2 kiddos in college now? Or is it?
I have one in college and 2 who've graduated and are fully employed now, which is like the dream.
Right. But like, I think that's the transition that I'm anxious to see how that goes for me, because we talk about it. We talk about the future. That adult to adult relationship that you then develop with your children and how that changes as a mother. Because like, the saying, you're always a mother. You are, but that role and your responsibility in it changes. How has that changed for you? Because you're still
That,
doing younger kids. Like, so you're still
yeah.
mothering younger children, but you're also now mothering adults.
Yes. I just realized we did it again. We had it once happen before, but this year we have one in elementary, one in middle school, one in high school, one in college, and 2 graduated. So I do like the Rachel Hollis Start Today journal is one of my favorite practices ever. So I talk
I'm so
a lot.
glad you brought that up because I love that.
I love it.
Yes.
I do mine in my own notebook because I'm really picky about the paper I write on, but little quirk. So I always write out my dreams and things as though they've already happened. And the most important one to me, or the 2 most important really, are the first 2 I write, is that I'm an exceptionally connected mom and that I'm a loving and available partner to Aaron. And so when I think about that, I have to spread that spectrum to Zach, who's very much living his own life. He has a mom. I'm his bonus mom. That's one sort of relationship, to Taylor and Jesse, who are adults, and then all the way down to a 7-year-old. With adult children, it's probably taught me the most, honestly, about parenting, because you get to a space where, and I should preface this, I make a million mistakes. I've already made a million mistakes being a parent of adult kids, for sure.
Yes.
A million. But it also forces you, if you're doing it right, to be able to have a relationship where the other person is fully capable of doing whatever they want to do, regardless of what I think about it. And so I've learned to take them each where they're at and be a supporter and not offer advice unless they're asking for it or about to be in, mortal danger. But it's a very different dynamic than my 7-year-old, who will still occasionally ask me to wipe her dang nose. It's very different.
Very different. It is definitely a phase I look forward to, because I'm curious how that's going to look. But at the same time, people always tell me embrace the now. And I do feel like I do embrace the now, because right now is my world. And I am at a phase and season of life where my oldest is 15. She's not the bratty teenager yet. I mean, we have moments. So
if you've gotten through 13 was the hardest with all of my kids so far. If you've gotten through 13 and you're in a good space, you'll probably be in a good space until at least the end of senior year. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Because I was, and that's what's funny is I was a really good kid. I was very obedient. I followed the rules. I wanted to please mom and dad. And then my second half of my senior year hit. And that's where I wanted to break out of that shell. And that's when I came to live with you. And I am so very grateful for how you handled that and how you treated me and how you embraced and loved me, because I needed to find my own way without my parents' influence, but even without other influences as well, like friends and school and teachers and all that. I had a lot going on. And so I am trying to prepare that I don't know what the future is going to look like for each of my kids, but I do know that they are going to be loved by me no matter what. Yeah. I love them. I care about them. They are I brought them into this world, but they are not mine. They are God's. Right. And so I feel like if I can help them be who He wants them to be, that is my role. That is my job. Yeah. And I kind of help and shape and direct, and, it feels like a constant Uber driver without always a car. But I am anxious to see what that looks like. And you have adult kids, is there that moment where you just kind of go, they turned out great. They're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I am so proud of who they are.
There is, and it's been different for each kid, which is super interesting. It's the mile markers that we hit that felt really good were, in our family, we don't put our kids through school. We emotionally support them, and we support them in ways, where they need help on different things financially, but they've all worked to get through school. And I think the biggest mile markers were when they first went away to school and they stopped talking to me. Ironically, it was a good thing, because I was like, oh, they've blossomed, they've run with it. They have a social life, they have things they want to do, and they're no longer clinging to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are other mile markers, like Jesse has gone through 2 or 3 moves now in her college career. And most of them she deals with on her own because she's just that self-supportive, like, no, mom, you don't need to come out. I'm fine. I got it all handled.
Yeah, she's independent.
Totally. I think maybe that's what it is. When they realize they are independent and that they really can figure out things, I think it makes me feel like, okay, we raise fully functional adults who are still going to make their own mistakes and they're still going to be sloppy, but they are figuring it out just like I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
So it feels really good.
When Alan and I moved to Southern California to go to college, we were away from both sets of family, like both dads, both parents. And that was so good for us because when things went wrong, when things happened, we couldn't just say, okay, I'm going to call mom or I'm going to call dad. Like we had to depend and rely on each other. And it's been funny as we've moved back and we are like my parents' backyard, kitty corner neighbors. And there are moments where Alan's like, oh, I'm just going to call and ask your dad for help. And I'm like, if we didn't live near family, we just have to figure this out on our own, whether it's just like a weed eater or a lawnmower blade, like those little things. But on the one hand, I am so very grateful that we do have parents that are willing and do love us and are mindful and caring. But motherhood, it's like, because I think when we think motherhood, we always think the littles. And it goes so far beyond that. There's so much more.
I think the one lesson about having adult children, and it was more in trying to teach them this lesson that I was able to internalize it. The one thing I wish I had known when I had younger kids is that the concept of you're still figuring it out. So if you're coming up against a situation you've never been in before, why would you know how to parent that perfectly? You've never done it before. Like if I said, here's a skateboard, write it perfectly to someone who's never skated, like why I am going to assume they're going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to assume they're going to fall and it's going to be sloppy. But somehow as moms, we tend to think, media, social media, all sorts of things tell us we should do this perfectly or it should just come innate to us. There are a ton of things as a mom that I've had to remind myself that this is new territory and I am figuring it out the best I can. And it applies, and then it makes it easier to apply to my kids. Like,
right.
Yeah, we've
They're
had
still
situations
learning
where
and trying to figure it out too, that they don't know.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm 43 and figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 37. I have felt guilty. I'm so glad you brought this up because I have had this mommy guilt the last couple of days. My 12-year-old daughter has branched out. She's in that age where she's trying so hard to be independent. And so she's branched out and tried to do certain things that she just doesn't know how to do. And so there's been a lot of apologizing lately. And it makes me feel so guilty when she's apologizing for something that she just didn't know better. And it's kind of my job as the mom to make sure she does know. And so, for example, we were making Muddy Buddies. And I say we as in she was. And I was not nearby because I just assumed that she knew how to follow the directions or assumed she knew the little tricks that I've learned because she's seen me do it. She's done it with me. And then they got burned, like the chocolate got burned. And trying to fix that was tricky. And I then figured out how to fix it. But then she's like, well, and I also added in some cookie dough. Explain why it was hard and not soft and liquid, right? And I'm like, okay, I can see how you thought this was a good idea because the cookie dough was delicious.
Yeah.
However, when doing Muddy Buddies, like that doesn't correlate. No. And so poor little thing, she has done a lot of apologizing lately for things she just didn't know. And I've kind of had to get on her because I'm like, Kylan, don't you just know? And she doesn't. She doesn't just know. And so mom guilt, for one, is not our friend.
No, it's the worst.
It is. It's the worst. And two, it's okay for both us and them to apologize to each other. I think that is so big I think our parents lived in a generation where there was no apologizing. That I am the parent and I am the boss and you just do what I say because that's what I say. Whereas I think we are now it's okay to apologize to your kid and say, I didn't handle that right. And
I actually think it's critical. Yeah, no,
yes.
So this is
so necessary.
I know the likelihood of Aaron watching all the way through to this point is like almost none. So I can share this with you. Uh, we argued about it a lot the first few years that we were together because I come from a very staunch, like, it is critical to apologize to your children because you're modeling behavior, and also because just because you're older does not mean you're not wrong. You know, I'm capable of
Right.
hurting a little child's feelings, and
Right.
that's not okay. And
Right.
they're going to learn how to fix that by watching. And Aaron came from
their
the
little
old
spirits.
yes. And Aaron comes from a family where they are angry and unkind and unforgiving. And so he didn't know any better. That's what he was taught. Like, no, I can never be low enough to apologize. And thankfully, he's definitely crossed over to the apology side long ago.
Good.
But it really is critical to be able to say, hey, mom made a mistake. There's one mistake I made that is not worth getting into, but it happened with a teenage daughter, and it happened in front of other people. And I had to go back and apologize to some other people and be very transparent about it and say, hey, listen, you're going to fall on your face too, just like this. And I want you to know that it's okay. And it costs you nothing to apologize. And, we make the best of where we're at, and then we keep going. And it was a huge lesson in humility, but also for her to see that I was mortified, but I had to say sorry. Like, that's just how we roll.
Well, and I think those life lessons mean so, so much and stick with us more. Yeah. I remember, I do not remember the circumstance, but I remember my dad coming into my bedroom. I was crying on my bed, so it must have been something, but he came and he apologized. And that is a memory that has stuck with me. And has stayed with me for many, many years. I was probably 14. I'm now 37. So 23 years where I don't remember why he apologized. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the circumstance, but I do remember him apologizing to me. And I knew he loved me, and I knew he cared. And I think that is a big deal about being a parent, is that humility, like you said, that just because we're older doesn't mean we always are wiser. And doesn't mean we know everything, and doesn't mean that we're always right. And I was just recently told, it's better, what's the saying? Maybe you'll know it. It's something about, it's better to be something than to be right. It's better to be.
Oh, do you want to be happy, or do you want to be right?
Yes.
I've heard it said a few different ways. Like, do you want this to be peaceful, or do you want to insist that you are right and you're the only right one? Yeah.
Right. And it's more important to me to have the peace than to be right, even though there are some circumstances where I have literally caused my tongue to bleed, because I'm like, I know I'm right now. And I wish I could say it, but I can't. And so to keep peace, I'm going to just be quiet. And so even in dealing, I think, with other people, not just being a mom, not just being a spouse, but dealing with others as well, like, it's so important to recognize that being right doesn't always give us the power that we want it to. And it's more about thinking about the other person and loving them and showing them grace and mercy at times when it's needed, because we're human, we're having life experiences, and we're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. And I often think about it in terms of mistakes that I make, that I'm grateful that I don't make them as like a celebrity on the front page of, TMZ. But I also am aware that I am making them in front of my children and the people that are close to me and around me. And there's a concept that I really hung on to. This is a total tangent, but sort of parenting.
I love tangents.
The last election cycle. And we will never talk about politics because it's never, ever worth it. But in politics and social media, like, all of a sudden, like, all gloves are off. Somehow, are we just nasty to each other? Like, how did that happen? But what I learned was, it is more important. Me being right is not more important to me than your feelings. Like, your feelings are more important than the fact that you see that I'm right in the way I want to do things. Like, who cares also? Like, who cares? I think you're wrong. You think I'm wrong. Big deal. Like, that's not even relevant, but we tend to hold on to that as though that's somehow going to be the end all be all.
Well, and at the end of the day, we have to recognize that our perception is based on our personal circumstances and life experiences. And so, like, I won't go too far into this, but when Obama was elected, it meant that my husband got a pay raise.
Sure.
And I was not wanting Obama to be president, but the pay raise was nice. And so it's so funny because right now with who's the president, like it hasn't changed my personal life circumstances, but like people do get so, and I think it's politics. I think it's religion. I think it's even parenting styles. Like I have some women friends that are all about like breastfeeding, and I call them the titty Nazis. I apologize. But then there's also people who are big advocates about home births. And for me, that was just not something for me that I had any desire to do. I like the separation between hospital and home. But what I found, the point I'm getting to is we are often passionate about different things. And that passion for that thing, whether it's religion, politics, whatever, is often going to exceed people's feelings at times, but that's where we need to rein it in and go, okay, it's okay that I'm passionate about this. It's okay that I have strong feelings. That's all well and good, but I still need to be a respectful, kind human being.
Yeah, totally.
So is that a good way to
wrap it up? Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And then the reality is I voted for Obama and I still love you and you still love me. Like that's
and I knew that. That's why I was like trying to be because we do have political differences and that's okay. But I'm with you. Right. Like it's not worth losing a friendship over something like that. It's just not. And at the end of the day, I want to have those friendships. And my parents are so funny. You know my parents. And so it's so funny because
I love your parents.
They're wonderful. I love them too. I'm so very blessed to have them as my parents. But they are not the social people that I am. They are not seeking those warm, fuzzy friendships / relationships / family relationships that I seek. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what that is about me, but I crave those. And my parents are opposite.
I can totally say this because I knew you when you're itty bitty. You were born with that. Like you were that way from the get-go. It was just something about you.
But you also know my mom and dad. My mom and dad are not that way. Like they are just fine to stay home and not do the social activities whereas that is me. Like that is something I embrace. And so it is interesting to kind of watch and see how we handle different things. So my mom and I have learned we cannot handle the same situation at the same time. When my dad had his heart attack, the way she reacted versus the way I did were polar opposites. And we probably shouldn't have been in the same room, but we were because we love each other. And by being in the same room, we were trying to give each other the emotional support each one needed, even though we both need totally different support. Yeah. But, anyway, oh my gosh, I don't even know how we got off on that, but
I can take us back.
Mandy, you are amazing. Thank you. When you get your, is your coaching and motherhood up and going, or is it still in the process?
It is. No, it is. So I'm actually about to launch an online class, an online course in just a couple of weeks. But I have a little freebie for anyone watching. If they want to go to mandyburnett.com/motivate-me.
Will you add that link into both of these lives? Because I know we now have two separate.
I know.
I have made them both public. So that helps.
It'll give you get a freebie download of my favorite inspirational quotes to put up on your mirror, but it also gets you access to emails that will come out about a course that helps women just sort of redefine who they are and get back in touch with their core being in order to be a better mom, better wife, better partner.
And I love that you're using the word extraordinary. Be extraordinary. Yes. Be your best self, be extraordinary, be your best you. Mandy, thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being willing to get on here and do this with me. You're helping fulfill some of my dream come true situations. And so thank you.
Well, I'm excited to watch your dreams. I think it's, you know that I love you and you're phenomenal. So
thank you.
I was
love you,
thrilled
Mandy.
to be here. Love you
Thanks
too.
so much. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
You too. Bye.